Hello and welcome to Trading Twos, a Penn State football podcast. I am Ryan Parsons. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Will Pegler. And Will, I think it's over, man.
Hey Ryan. Yeah, I was thinking about it today on the subway home. I was like, how are we going to open this? Are we going to say it's only gotten darker? But I don't think it has. Penn State wasn't going to beat Ohio State. They weren't going to win that game, so it just feels like we're sort of just still at the bottom. I don't think it feels any lower than it already was. Yeah, dark opening to this episode, but it's true. It's really, we're in a tough spot still, so we're still sad.
Yeah, and you and I kind of just talked ourselves in circles for probably a cumulative like 10 hours between Saturday and then Sunday and the car ride back. And I don't think we have a solution here, and I don't know what the way forward is, but who knows until they hire a coach. So, we're just in a holding pattern until there. The Ohio State game was like the last thing we had where it was like, okay, if they win this, there's some sort of, there's something fun for, in the season. Indiana's probably feels like half of that, if that. And then after that, it's just like a really sharp downhill turn. But how'd you like Columbus, man?
One thing before that, I will say the part we did talk in circles in the car ride home about like solutions here. Like for some reason, Ryan and I think we're going to like fix Penn State football. Connor Stallions may have been on track with his like Michigan manifesto thing. Like we might back him. I don't know. Maybe Penn State needs like that.
I mean, maybe someone has to do that. And like maybe it's you and I.
Why not? Anyway, that's ridiculous, but kind of, I'm like not really kidding. Columbus, man, it was my third time in Columbus, my first time as a fan. So I think I got more of an experience, like just hanging out rather than being on the Onward State football beat and like working, quote unquote. Um, it's just Columbus. I think Ohio State's campus was like a pretty Big Ten campus, but Columbus is just not a college town. I guess this is just like sour grapes, but it's just not. I don't know. I think there were like some surprises, some nice things. Ohio State fans were mostly like not nice to us at all wearing Penn State stuff, I think. A couple of really mean folks, like some nice people, but it's Columbus, it's Ohio State. My opinion hasn't changed on them.
Yeah, there was multiple instances where people just walked up to us and were just like, I hate you. Like just straight up. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess you expect that when it's a close game, but I felt kind of just like, yeah, we're not going to win. So I don't even know why you're getting in our face here. But yeah, I actually went in with kind of an open mind, and the campus I was pretty surprised by. Like, I don't want to say it's nicer than Penn State's campus, but like it's just a Big Ten campus and it's beautiful and it was fall and the leaves were going. So like, if I was an Ohio State alum, I would probably be pretty happy, but I'm not. So yeah, I'm just gonna say I hated it, I guess. I don't know. We tried our best to immerse ourselves a little bit. We had a Airbnb in Short North, and we're right on off of, I guess, High Street is what they call it. And went out Friday night. It was Halloween, so it was kind of a mess. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't need people to be nice to me. I think one thing that I do want to say, though, is that I think Ohio State fans are like, oh, we don't care about Penn State. Like, it's not a rivalry. Ohio State fans hate Penn State, like, so much. So I hate Ohio State, too. So, like, it's a two-way street. I'm not complaining.
It was very clear, yeah.
Let's call balls and strikes here. Like, they hate Penn State. So just calling that out, too. Like, I think we can talk about this a little bit more, too, but, like, they mocked the Zombie Nation chant like throughout the game, and then like, oh, fuck you, Penn State. So it's like, yeah, it was like a rivalry. I mean, Penn State's unrivaled, so we didn't protect it. But yeah, it's whatever. It was, and I guess getting into the game too. Saturday we tailgated a little. I don't know. The tailgating scene, I think, does not compare to Penn State at all. So we're still winning in that department. And then Ohio Stadium is a really cool stadium. It's the security, all the kind of like I'm blanking on the word. I'm sorry. The guys who like get you to your seat, the ushers.
Ushers, yeah.
They're all really nice. Like we talked to one guy, he took a picture for us. And then our seats were way up in the Penn State section, like visiting section. But we spent some time before the game started down in like the family section. They kind of let us hang out. So we were kind of with all like the player families. We're able to talk to Audrey Snyder at Inside the Lions, her Substack, and then of course the great legend Mike Poorman. So it was a cool like morning game day experience, honestly.
Yeah, we got in for player entrance and saw some old familiar faces from the beat and from, players' families. So it was cool to kind of get back in the mix there. I kept saying to you, like, it feels like we're on the Death Star. I kind of got the same feeling in 2021 when we went, and this being the blackout, it just felt like we were in a ship of like an evil empire, and we had no choice but to march to our deaths there. And they kind of put us up in the bleachers with all the other Penn State fans, and they had their own little party down below. So, yeah, I mean, that football team and that program is just militant, and they're all assassins, and they do everything right, and they won the national championship last year, and I don't think anyone would really bet a significant amount of money on them not doing it again this year. Um, so it's pretty demoralizing as a Penn State fan who thought at some point we were catching up. But I think firing James is just going to delay that a little bit if it were to ever happen. So kind of just a bummer to admit that they're our daddies, kind of.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that, but it's true. They're they're all business. They walk in many men by 50 Cent plays, and they just walk across the field and are just so all business. Um, their entrance is all business. Yeah, man, they kicked our ass. I think, at halftime, we were like, hey, anything can happen. We got a fluky turnover. We punched it in down 3, and then they absolutely just sucked the life out of Penn State. Final score 38-14. Turns out my brain prediction on last week's episode was exactly right. Joey Underwood, one of our listeners, our West Coast listeners, gave me a heads up on that, which is crazy. So it turns out we just, knew what was going to happen the whole time, and we're just sort of running away from it. So yeah, they just kicked Penn State's ass really on all facets. Offensively, Penn State couldn't really move the ball besides, that one awesome drive in the first half. There wasn't really anything to write home about. And I think as we all really knew in the back of our heads, there was quite literally no stopping Jeremiah Smith or Cornell Tate. Julian Zant could do whatever he wanted in the passing game. So just tough to watch, man. Really tough to watch. I don't think it's like surprising, like I said, to kick off the episode. Like we're at rock bottom. Like we're here, and we already were before this game. But this game, and I want to get your takeaways too. But it started to, I guess, with 4 games left on the schedule, it started to make me get concerned that we're gonna see a real steep drop off in effort here in a sec, which sucks.
Yeah, it feels like that end of the second quarter was the peak effort we're going to see the rest of the year. Like the strip and then scoring the other touchdown. Penn State was the only team that has scored a touchdown in Ohio State this entire season in the first half. They scored 2, so 14 points was by far the most Ohio State has allowed in a first half. So credit to Penn State coming out and giving a little bit of a fight. But at halftime, I said some things that I regret too. Some of the Ohio State fans in our section as I was walking down to use the bathroom. Because it did feel like, maybe for a second we were in it. But once Penn State had that first offensive drive of the second half, it was like, all right, we're just delaying the inevitable here. And credit to them for, I guess, coming out of the first half fighting, and credit to us for staying the whole game and sitting in our seats like men and taking our beating. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm scared of what the effort is going to look like against Indiana here.
Yeah, they asked, Terry did his Monday presser yesterday, and one detail that came up that I want to highlight, they asked about Khalil Dinkins getting absolutely knocked out on a, really like an inaccurate pass that was nowhere near him over the middle by star safety Caleb Downs. I mean, he knocked him out, and he was like writhing on the turf in pain. For some reason, it wasn't called targeting at all, and Caleb Downs stayed in the game and later made an interception. But Terry was asked about it and, what he thought about the non-reaction from his players. Like none of the Penn State players really did anything about it. And he really framed it as like, oh yeah, it's discipline. Like next snap. which I guess is a positive thing to say. But when that happened, I think from our perspective, first of all, we stood up and we're like, what the hell was that? And and then we were sort of like, why is no one, you don't want to see guys fight, but like, why isn't a big offensive lineman getting in Caleb Downs' face right now and like letting him know, Khalil Lanes is my guy. He's a veteran teammate. And like no one really stood up for him. I think somebody probably helped him up. But for me, that was, and there was one other thing that happened that I think we should talk about, but that was the sort of the vibe of the whole day, and that like encapsulated it perfectly.
Yeah. I'm like growing to resent this team a little bit, which sucks, but like, I don't know, things just keep stacking up or just whether it's guys not giving full effort or I don't know. There are a handful of guys who seem like they are still fighting and trying, but the vibe now very much just feels like waiting for the season to end. Um, the secondary, especially, I mean, they had a really tough task with Ohio State's offense, but I don't know. It felt like they were just unnecessarily getting beat and just guessing on routes, I think is what Terry said. Um, I know DDS has been being held all year, but I felt like he was not playing with the motor that he has in the past. So I don't know. It's just kind of sad to say. And I think you alluded to it, but the other thing that was just the cherry on top was the Jumbotron moment. Um, I guess for no, people who didn't see it online, in the fourth quarter, the Ohio State like directors in the stadium kept zooming in on Jim Knowles in the booth, who was Ohio State's defensive coordinator last year, and then switching over to Matt Patricia, who was their current defensive coordinator, and the stadium was just booing the shit out of Jim Knowles and then cheering for Patricia so hard. I think they did it like 5 times at least. At first, I was like, okay, this is unprofessional. And then I was like, okay, everyone is into this. Like, we're just getting owned right now. I was shocked. My reaction was shock when it first happened.
Me too, man. I mean, that was crazy. I knew it was gonna, we knew it was gonna blow up right when we saw it happening in person. I think we both were like, oh my God. And Gabe, our friend who we were with, we all were like, I've never seen anything like that before in a stadium. Like it was crazy. I mean, the whole stadium was in on it. Eventually, I filmed it with my own phone eventually just to see it. That was, yeah. I mean, that is the other thing. Like the other, in case Ohio State didn't own us enough on Saturday, then they got to be like, remember you celebrated like you won the national championship when you stole our defensive coordinator away from us. Like, yeah, it turns out it takes 10 decades to implement his defense, and he's not the guy at all apparently. And they got to point and laugh at us for sure. I was joking. I was like, how, like when they asked a couple players about it in the post game, and I think they were just like, yeah, I didn't notice. I was paying attention to the game, but like, if you're Terry Smith, as that's happening, how are you not radioing up to Jim on the headset like, hey, man, can you get up and like take a leak or like get a coffee? Because this is like so embarrassing. Like, get up. Yeah, get away from the cameras. Like,
I think they were kind of just thinking like, okay, this will be once or twice they do it, but they just like kept switching back and forth. And I was like, all right, like Noel's like froze. He was like, I'm just gonna like act like I'm invisible and it'll go away. I mean, the most I can remember Beaver Stadium doing something like that is just like whenever there's been a bad penalty call or something that the refs missed, they'll just play it in slow motion like over and over again. But like this felt like, I don't know, kind of unprecedented, but like they got our ass.
yeah, Audrey and John Sauber were talking about it on the Nittany Dispatch after the game, and they were like, I think Audrey was like, yeah, that was not very classy, or like that was unprofessional, which I agreed, but to the victor goes the spoils. It is what it is. Like we'll take it. I hope we do it. When we beat Ohio State one time in 2028 or something. No, it was tough. I think those were the Dinkins thing and the Knowles Jumbotron thing were really the cherry on top of a pretty crappy game. Yeah, and then we did our Columbus recap. I think that's all.
I want to talk about the food.
Yeah, you want to lead that?
Yeah. I got it in the mud on Twitter again by accident, but we were like trying to give the Columbus food scene the light of day, and I'm sure like the actual good restaurants are fine, but this was crazy. But every place we went to, the bread was just stale. Like it happened at like 4 places, including like McDonald's. And then like I bought a pack of Oreos after the game because I was sad, and like those were also stale. And I was like, how does this keep happening? I was like, is it like a humidity situation? I don't know, but I don't even I don't there's no one to give credit to here. Like there was the one restaurant I went to was cool, but besides that, it was kind of a disaster.
Yeah, Orange City Tavern was a good spot.
Yeah,
I
credit
like
to
that
them.
place. And we didn't have any bread there, so we were fine. I mean, if you like stale bread, you'd like love Columbus, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's edible. It's just like if you like
Yeah.
more of a crunch and all of the carbs you eat, like yeah,
Yeah. Well, not even a crunch, like sort of a lack, like a little bit of give, but like not in the right way at all.
yeah, yeah. The burrito we had was like that too,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
from
I'll
like
just
the
say
worst restaurant
we went
in
to a place.
America.
I'm not gonna name it because you already like got in the mud with them on Twitter. You can check Ryan's Twitter. We went to the sandwich place that people raved about. I got a cheesesteak because I was like, let's see how Columbus's cheesesteak stacks up. And people on Twitter were saying like, yeah, no, it takes Angelo's, or it takes it can take on a Philly cheesesteak. The inside of the sandwich was fine, like it was like a cheesesteak, but the bread was just like kind of stale. So, and that's like all
Yeah,
that matters. So if you
if
like
you
that,
like that,
that's great. Like good for you, Columbus. Yeah, like yummy, but not for me. So anyway,
yeah. And someone responded to me on Twitter was like, I'm like I'm not a cheesesteak expert, but like, I feel like I know more about cheesesteaks than people who live in Columbus, living in Philly, and you as well, at least being on the Eastern Seaboard. Done with that, I think, right? don't want, don't want to
yeah, I
get
mean
any
we
more in the
lost,
mud
so
there.
it's gonna come off like sour grapes. But
This happened before the game even happened, though.
yeah, the bread situation happened first on Friday night, actually. Um. Anyway, though, yeah, we Penn State is 3-5, and but Ernie's cheesesteak doesn't have stale bread, at least in State College.
You got to take what you can take at this point.
Should we discuss what's coming this weekend real quick? I don't think we need to do a full Indiana preview, but or really
Yeah,
rest of the season. I mean, 4 games left, and we already alluded to this lack of effort thing kind of on the table. Indiana is scary, right? I mean, potentially better than Ohio State.
yeah. We were trying to do whose line it is. Is it anyway? Before the line came out, and we were like, oh, it's going to be 30. It's 13.5, which I feel like, I mean, that's just people giving Beaver Stadium credit. Indiana still has never won Beaver Stadium, but I mean, Mendoza. If you thought Sand was good, and I mean, he's the favorite to win the Heisman right now, and I guess he might be better. But Mendoza is a dog in Indiana. I mean, he fits really well in their offense, and that's not even the strength of their team. Like their defense is I think what most people would consider their strength. Um, Penn State still has a backup quarterback, so it could get out of hand quickly. And yeah, I'm not super looking forward to watching the game.
I the first thing I said after we lost, or as like the clock hit 0 in Columbus at Ohio Stadium on Saturday, I turned around. I was like, this team just shouldn't be on TV. I was like, can we just hide Penn State? Because I don't. I mean, I guess a noon kick is as close as you can get to that these days because everything is on every station. But I was like, let's just put these guys on Big Ten Plus at like 10 a.m. Like, I don't want.
Yeah, get Roar Plus fired up.
I'll just watch this alone, like eating a whole pizza by myself, and just
Yeah, in
like
the dark.
just and I just put it away. Nobody else needs to see this team play football. So, yeah, I don't think we need to do like a legitimate Indiana preview. There, I mean, Surratt and Cooper are like, I think Terry said today they've combined for more touchdowns than Tate and Jeremiah Smith. So only gets harder from here. So hard not to say that Penn State is likely looking at a 3-6 record and then 3 must-win games to even get bowl eligible. I mean, it is freaking nuts. And
Do
if,
they even want to be bowl eligible at this point? Like, I know I said last week that it would be better, but I don't even know if that's true anymore.
no, I mean, yeah, you said it. Like you would get extra practice with the new coach theoretically, but like no, because is that even how it would work? And then the extra practices you would get, like half of those players aren't even going to be your players come January. You'd got to think,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's also on the table. Even if Penn State gets the 6 wins, would they play would they accept the bid? Terry Smith said, yeah, probably, but like didn't say definitely. So that it's absolutely on the table that they'd bail, and not play in the like Bad Boy Mowers Bowl or whatever.
I mean, if they hire a guy the day after Rutgers and then the 30-day window opens, they might not be able to field a team for a bowl game, like legitimately.
100%. The re-recruiting that would have to happen, the new coaching staff that would get brought in. I mean, 100%. I think you have to say Rutgers game ends the Saturday after Thanksgiving. You flush it and you're on. You got to hire a new guy, which I guess is a good segue. We can start to talk about it. Um, that's the most exciting part left here. I think a month from now, really realistically, Penn State is likely going to have their new head coach. It seems like.
Yeah, I think the consensus here is, from everyone you talk to, is that when the Rutgers game ends, things are going to move fast. I think Penn State is kind of stalking its prey at this point, but um, once things open up after Rutgers, I think it's just going to be maybe even a 24-hour situation. We're going to know who it is, um, and it, Penn State's in a really weird spot and an unfortunate spot. I mean, they can't hire a coach who's going to be in the playoff, essentially. They can't, because they need a guy to be in place for when the portal opens in January, and any coach who's in the playoff, you're not going to be able to get that fast. So they're in a weird position. The list keeps shrinking. I know last week Brian Hartline kind of popped up a lot. I mean, Will, I think our understanding here is that's not going to happen. According to some of the prediction markets right now, he's the second favorite behind Drinkowitz, who's the leader in the clubhouse. But to me, that feels like a stretch here. I don't know what
Yeah, I
your read
think
is
I don't
there.
know. We already the no head coaching experience seems like that would be a non-starter potentially. Who knows? I could be wrong on that, but it seems like the talk on Heartline is quieted. And again, this is it's like a week to week thing. It seems like there's a coach of the week at this point in terms of like who is getting love from Penn State. So that could totally change. Yeah, I think right now though, you and I were just talking before we started recording. I think Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri is still getting a lot of attention. There was flight tracker talk today of Penn State's jet flying down to Atlanta because there was discussions of them interviewing Brent Key during Georgia Tech's bye week, who's having a good year right now. So, um, yeah, it seems like if there's any shrinking of the list happening, it's guys that are currently head coaches at quote unquote lower tier programs that might not be making the playoff, but still potentially could be. So who knows? Um, but yeah, it's that's what this is going to be here the next few weeks. We're not going to be doing Indiana previews or talking about the land grant trophy. It's going to be who is Penn State's next head coach, and um, that's going to be pretty much all we're hearing. Even from the local beat reporters, it's not going to be game to game stuff. It's really going to be more big picture, which you and I, like you said, talked ourselves in circles about it for 14 hours driving to Columbus and back, which is fun. And there's a lot to think about in terms of considering what you need in the next guy.
Yeah. I mean, just on Kalshi right now, Drinkowitz is the leader, and then Hartline and Braum are behind him at 13%, and then after that, it kind of drops off. Campbell, Elko, Diaz, Key, Kelly, DeBoer. Um, I think Penn State's best bet here is to get someone who's looking to jump ship at a program that maybe has been good and just isn't going to make the playoff this year, whether that's DeBoer, although Alabama seems like a lock at this point. Um, I don't know. It's really hard to predict. And I think, did you see the stuff about Urban this week?
I did. Yeah,
I don't know if that's real,
I
but I
know.
guess we could talk about it.
Yeah,
Like,
I go for it. Sorry.
apparently he like wanted the Penn State job and had one interview and it went well. And the second interview, he was just so in the dark on NIL stuff that Pat Kraft laughed him out of the room. And I don't know if that's true. And if it is, like, okay, I guess it might be one way to dodge that bullet, but I don't know. That's just like weird reporting and tea leaf stuff at this point.
Yeah, I mean that would suck. We're like too late on Urban, and he runs our program into the ground like he did the Jaguars. Um, yeah, I don't. He would be like a celebrity hire at this point. He'd be like Gruden. So who knows if that's true or not? But it doesn't feel like it's him either. If you believe any of the Kalshi stuff and the percentages, I mean those switch day to day, but he hasn't really been a favorite on there. Um,
The Kalshi stuff is like astrology.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
astrology for guys.
Yeah, it's like that is what it is. That's so funny. It's like your tarot. what's that called? Your tarot reading?
Tarot, yeah.
Yeah, tarot. Yeah. That's like literally what it is. Yeah, I check it every
Yeah, it's like I
morning.
just pulled a card. It's like Brahm. It's like I'm
Like I'm a
fucked today.
Gemini. Like yay. Like
Yeah, I'm like an Eli Drinkowitz rising and like a Clark Leah moon.
exactly, dude. No, so I mean that's a
Yeah, we have a good grasp on the coaching
yeah.
search.
Yeah, I mean we had it in our outline, but like to be honest with you guys, there's nothing really to say. Like we're all just gonna hear rumors, you know? I mean, we don't have theoretically like sources in the program, so
We could
we're kind of
pretend we do.
what's that?
We could like pretend we do.
Yeah, exactly. We can pretend we do, but it's just really crazy. I guess what you and I talked about so much on the car ride home is what we're looking for in the next head coach, and net. It's just somebody to bring Penn State along into the new era. What does that even mean at this point? I don't know. We had some talk of the university as a whole and where it's headed. I mean, there was just, if we want to get really like meta with it, there was a video on Friday of the house across from Penn Tower getting torn down, like that old house with an awesome porch, and that felt like shitty vibes for culture. We saw the Lionettes are like losing their funding. I don't know. I'm going on a huge tangent, but there's like other things that are happening right now at the university that kind of freak me out. And I don't know. I just hope the new coach comes in and he's a real Penn State vibe, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And to be honest, dude, it feels less and less like that's gonna happen. Like, I mean, James talked about alignment so much and the decisions Neely is making with branch campuses and some of the funding and stuff. Like, WPSU is gone, the Collegian got defunded. Like, all this stuff that's like classic Penn State vibes is just getting cut out, and it feels like we're almost getting gutted by a private equity company. And there's been talks of an actual private equity company coming in and buying stock in some programs. And Pat Kraft think that needs to happen to like get players to the portal. Man, geez, like the vibes are just going to get a lot worse. And I know we're kind of 10 steps ahead of ourselves now, but I mean, it feels like we're moving further and further away from what we would describe as like classic Penn State vibes. And if Pat Kraft is thinking that way, the next head coach could be anybody.
You know, I'd also recognize that we definitely just sound like two old alums, like we're already becoming those guys, which is fair.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a little bit of that happening here. But I don't know. And I think we've already said it, but that is why this hire feels so important to us. It's because it's just such a big deal for culture and for holding things together that, you know, holding together what Penn State means to the fans and the families that care about Penn State. So it's bigger than just a football team. It just is, because the football team has always been bigger than just football. Like it or not, it just is. It's a huge part of what Penn State is. It's the front porch of the university, as somebody used to say. So, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. The Ohio State loss kind of put us into like this weird hole of, 50 years down the line, where is Penn State going to be? And it's not crazy that's what Pat Kraft should be thinking about, right? So I hope he's having similar conversations with everybody on his team and Neely and whoever else needs to be involved. But yeah,
I think it's just hard for us, like me and you, to accept a little bit that some of that stuff isn't important anymore. Like local recruiting and like grades and GPA and like having ties to the university and the involvement with downtown, like, and fan base, all that stuff that was traditionally looked at when coaches and are looking at new jobs and jobs become opening. It feels like that stuff is kind of just not really in the mix anymore. Like, it feels like it's really all about money. And until something major changes with college football, whether that's going away from the NCAA or hiring a commissioner or whatever, we're just in this era right now where it's a boat race, and Penn State has no choice but to do all it can to win the boat race financially. And I don't know. It's just weird. I think it's a little hard to accept that that's where things are going, because the past just always feels cozy.
yeah, yeah. And some of it's positive. Like change is scary, so and not necessarily always bad. It's just kind of a scary thing. But it's weird to think about. I think Pat Kraft is the guy for the job, but he did a interview with Pat McAfee, like right before, I think it was right before the Oregon game. and he was so like jubilant and positive about where Penn State stands, where all 31 athletic programs stands, how James is like a um, sort of a national beacon for Penn State and like entryway into all the other athletic programs. And then they lost to Oregon and all this other stuff fell apart. So it's like, it's weird to think about um, kind of how much the vibes have shifted and like how open-ended everything feels now. Um, the other thing I'll say to your point about like the culture of guys being true Penn Staters and like going to class and hanging out on campus and just being like good dudes. It was cool. It's such a fucking, I don't want moral victories, but like the Vig Ione thing kind of went viral. So I wanted to shout that out. He helped the equipment manager roll the card up the pathway to the visiting team locker room in Columbus as Ohio State fans angrily yelled at him and screamed expletives at him. So that was cool. And I think guys like that are still there. I don't think the culture is completely gone. I think just, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you and I are trying to articulate here is that we hope the new coach, we hope those considerations are still made and who we're hiring here. Whether it's Lane Kiffin or Eli Drinkwitz, they better have an understanding of what State College is, what Penn State is, and what it means to people.
Yeah. And I think Jason Kabinda, it might have not been him, it might have been someone adjacent to him, tweeted like in response to that Vega video saying like, this is a great example of the type of kids that Penn State likes to recruit. And that I think that put it kind of succinctly. Like James obviously wasn't really killing it ever in recruiting, but maybe he had some sort of filter on where he was valuing, guys' character and things beyond just the football field. Because some guys are going to go to the NFL, but some guys are going to have to prepare for lives in other things. And the school you go to is very important in that process. Yeah, you hope some of that stuff is retained a little bit.
Yeah. And the other thing you and I were saying, we were trying to figure it out. We were like, what is actually the difference between Penn State and Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, a million other examples of Notre Dame, unfortunately, teams that have made runs to like multiple national championships in the 15 years and have been in the mix. And we like to feel like Penn State's in that group too, but not quite, like not really. Like what is the difference? Like why can't Penn State get over that hump, make the jump from grade to elite, win those big games? And you and I have felt like came to the conclusion, like, well, James still, he was incredibly loyal. He still valued like bringing in the right guys, bringing the guys who were loyal to him, sticking with his guys, his coaches. And in a way, like, is that what was holding Penn State back? Like Ohio State's like a killing machine, and they're just and I'm not saying they bring in bad guys necessarily, but they recruit from across the country, whereas Penn State is kind of a more regional East Coast feel. And Georgia is the same way too. They're a national brand of where they're bringing guys in from. So maybe that is what was holding Penn State back, and maybe that is the change we need. But I think you and I felt like no, we're going against the grain a little bit here. And in a lot of ways, James was still running a classic program, and it would have been really cool to win that way, and have an undefeated season and win a national championship that way. But maybe this is the case study that says like, no, that's not doable anymore. You have to be all in on NIL. You're not going to be stuck in the old days. You have to name your field after some stupid company. No offense, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
And renovate your stadium and all this stuff. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. Like, it's going to be not even just these next few months, but these next 5 to 10 years. Penn State's going to start to look a lot different, and everybody says that about the 5 to 10 years after they graduate, for sure. But I just think it's going to be accelerated here based on the new head coach, because Penn State has a lot of new head football coaches.
Well, your point about Ohio State, look at Quinn Ewers. Like, he's a kid from Texas, just nowhere near Ohio, recruited the shit out of him, convinced him to reclassify so that he could come to Ohio State earlier, paid him, I think, what was the most any player had been paid at that point in time. And then he sat on the bench 1 year and transferred. Ohio State was like, that's fine. That's the cost of doing business. We're just going to win the Natty like next year. And it's like, if that happened at Penn State, it would be pretty demoralizing, like a huge misallocation of resources. And yeah, I don't know. Well said about hoping that we could have done things the old way and still won the Natty. But I don't know, onward, right? Onward state. The only way out is through.
100%. We're in the storm right now, as Terry would say. And to be like, maybe we will. This is all just coming from a place of how scary,
Despair.
like open ended it feels. That's where this is coming from. Like maybe things will, hold true, and um, the coach will be primarily focused on culture. I do think Pat is factoring that in while he's trying to shepherd us into this new era, which is great, and that's like got to be the best way to go about it because you have to. Uh, and James was a little bit behind on NIL. He was a little bit behind on how he recruited and brought guys into the transfer portal. I think that's like confirmed now and what some people have written. But yeah, I mean, I think we've said a lot of this before, but I feel like this is the core of the conversation you and I had about like we have this like dream vision for Penn State and like where things stand, and just will be interesting to see what happens after that Rutgers game ends because you better have your Twitter notifications on. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna happen quick, I think.
Yeah, and it's gonna be exciting. But yeah, I think to wrap up here a little bit, you and I were talking in the car ride, and it just feels like doing a weekly episode at this point is a little overkill, if that's a good way to put it. So I think the next time you'll hear from us is probably sometime around when the coaches decided the Rutgers game, unless there's a big Indiana win or a notable update. Um, weekly cadence was great when things were exciting and fresh and hopeful, but I don't know. It feels like at this point there's nothing to be said until the new coach is hired. Um, so I think we're gonna switch things up in that department.
Yeah, exactly. I think yeah, we were talking about on the car ride, like I don't think people were coming to us for X's and O's or our, big impressive predictions for these games. There's more of like check-ins and vibes and um objectively hilarious. We started a podcast for what is potentially one of the most devastating Penn State seasons we've had in a while. Most shocking for sure. It's kind of hilarious we did this. So we're not like quitting at all. We're still going to do this, but Penn State gets blown out by Indiana this weekend. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot new to say from us. I think honestly, quick plug, like if you're looking for that, follow Audrey Snyder. I check her out on the Nittany Dispatch, and I would subscribe to her Substack because nobody is doing it better than her. So those weekly, like on the ground state college updates are great. And yeah, like Ryan said, we'll come back around and offer our opinions when this new guy is brought in, or if any major updates come through in terms of who Penn State is about to sign, we can get our rapid reactions up. But yeah, thank you guys for rolling with us, and we'll still tweet stuff, and our social page will still be active, but we'll take a little bit of an extended break here through this final stretch of this nightmare.
Yeah, we're like Meow Mix a little bit for the Panthers podcast that just quit because they are so bad. But they're bad. I mean, Meow Mix is back now when the Panthers started winning. So, Penn State, this is on you.
We're still watching all the games. It's not like we're being
Yeah, like
fair
with like intense rigor.
Call me if you want to talk, like it's all good.
Yeah. Cool. I think we can wrap up, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good place.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Sorry we're going away for a little bit, but I don't know. Like Will said, give us a personal call or text or DM if you want to talk. Or maybe we'll have a guest on. Like I don't know if you want to come on the podcast. We'll interview someone maybe. But yeah, if you're listening on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Give us a like and some comments. Same thing goes for Spotify, Apple Music, and yeah. Thanks a lot for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys.